Well, the festive season is around the corner, and with most South Africans facing financial hardships, consumers are urged to spend their money wisely. For more on this, we are joined by Winnie Rabothata from the National Credit Regulator to give us tips to consumers ahead of the festive season. Thank you so much, Ms. Rabothata, for joining me this morning. Of course, you know, it is the festive season, or the festive season is upon us. It does quite feel festive already. We know during this time of the year, we as South Africans, we want to spend, and sometimes we don't have the finances to spend, and we use credit. How important is this going into this festive season to be so wise with your money?
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I hope you can see me.
Not quite, but you can go ahead and answer. As soon as we get your visuals, we'll put it up for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for having us. So as we know that the festive season is around the corner, and already the festive mood and also the festive activities have already begun. We as the eNCA, we are urging consumers at home to actually spend wisely. We know that a lot of them, those who are fortunate, will be getting their bonuses. Always prioritize your debts. Make sure that you make arrangements with your credit providers, for those who will be getting their pay, their salaries earlier than their usual payday. So it's very important for you to know that if you default, it will affect your credit score, it will affect your credit profile. So it's very important for you to, as a consumer, to make sure that you prioritize your debt and then pay what is required. And as we know that we saw this year that with the economic climate that we went through, all the high cost of living, and also the interest rate hikes that we experienced this year, a lot of consumers were struggling to repay their monthly installment or their debts. So as the consumer, it is within your responsibility, or it is your responsibility to ensure that you meet all your financial obligations at the end of the month, because you have signed a credit agreement with the credit provider. And also, buy what you need. A lot of them will be buying gifts, as you have said, and also a lot of them will be buying, spending impulsively. So it's very important as consumers to also to buy what you need. Start with the essentials. January is around the corner, and for a lot of people, we don't want, the reality is, in January it's back to reality. So we don't want a lot of consumers to be going to borrow from unregistered credit providers, because they failed to spend wisely in December or during the festive.
Now, Ms. Rabothata, of course, it is very important, as you mentioned, for South Africans to be very cautious heading into this festive season, and generally also to be very wise with their money. But of course, we also know that it does sometimes look so attractive, credit, and these credit companies, they make it look so attractive to get more credit, and they, so I think basically my question is there some responsibility on their side as well to make sure that, we don't get people into debt unnecessarily? Is there, maybe some sort of responsibility, not just on South Africans, but also on these companies?
Okay, so it is within actually with the credit providers, they have the responsibility to make sure that they do the necessary affordability assessment before giving out credit to consumers. A lot of them, because that if you fail to do affordability assessment, then it will lead to reckless lending, and that's what we don't want as the eNCA. So it is their responsibility on their side, the credit providers, is to make sure that they request the necessary documents such as your salary slip, your recent bank statements, and also to make sure that you can afford, because the purpose of the affordability assessment is to actually assess the consumer, if the consumer will be able to repay the amount or the credit that they are applying for. And if they don't, as a consumer, you have the right to be given reasons if your credit has been declined. They need to tell you it's because you can't afford, your credit score is low, you are under debt counseling, or you are negatively listed, as we all know, as blacklisted. So yes, the credit providers, they have a lot of responsibilities, because if they fail to do that, there will be some penalties from the National Credit Regulator.
And I feel, very lastly, maybe just to give some advice to people, who do fall into that trap and then find themselves stuck in a rut where they can't repay their debt and they feel like there is no way out. What do you have to say to those people?
Okay, so for consumers who are struggling, with their financial obligations at the end of the month, and as I've said, that we saw a lot of consumers struggling, to meet up their financial obligation due to the economic climate that we faced this year. So we have, as the NCR, we have the debt relief measures that are available for those consumers, or the debt intervention consumers, and which is surrendering of goods. It's when you, as a consumer, you decide to say, you know what, I can't afford this car. Let me take it back to the credit provider so that they can sell it at an auction, so that I'm able to settle my debt. And also, as the consumer, you also have debt counseling. Debt counseling, even though it has its own advantages, but it also has its own disadvantages. So it's a program that is intended to assist over-indebted consumers, those who are struggling to pay their monthly repayment or their monthly installments. Then they can decide to be under debt counseling with a registered credit debt counselor. And also, lastly, we have credit life insurance. Credit life insurance, like any other policy, it's actually an insurance for it's an insurance for a debt. So it's required by the credit provider should a consumer die or be disabled, or changed, and then the credit provider will take the credit life insurance and pay for that debt for a maximum of 6 to 12 months. So those are the available options that are available, the available debt relief measures that are available for consumers who are unable. So for more information, they can visit our website on www.ncr.org.za. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your insights this morning. That was Ms. Winnie Rabothata from the National Credit Regulator.